what I wanted to explain, rather, that I see happening is Israel is the main epicenter, if you want. It's the main focus of the Bible. It's about Jewish people. So when we take end times and we want to figure where we are, if we're to look at anything, we need to look at Israel and what's going on. All of Bible prophecy is about Israel. It has been in the past and very much so in the future. So I've often said, if I keep an eye on the wars, because that's what's prophesied to happen to Israel, and when it does happen, things will start unfolding very quickly. That's what's taking place as we speak. Not a war, that the attempt. Israel's basically in a corner. I've got to back up a little bit, and I have to kind of go over in general. And so much of this can be looked up, and probably a lot of you that are listening to this, you already know this, and that's why I'm going to go over it quickly. What we've had happen in the last several years is we've had the uprise, not only from Al-Qaeda, which is basically goes back to Saddam Hussein, Iraq, and that was a faction of Muslims that they wanted to have control. They wanted to implement what they thought was the proper law. Then from that point on, we moved on, and one of the reasons for our war that we had in Iraq, and remember this is kind of important, was to maintain the flow of oil. That's not the only reason, and I know there's many others, but it is a serious one. It has implications to what's going on. So from that point, we had what was called ISIS, which is an Islamic State. It was an attempt at another group of the Muslim world. And, there's the Shia, the Sunni. You don't have to get all involved in that. But no, there's where the fighting is basically between themselves. And then as ISIS grew, as they became a problem, America really wanted the area of Syria. Again, I said I'm going over this quickly. So they were enabling, through supplying money and weapons, not only to certain parts of that Islamic State, warring faction, but also to something called Daesh. And then also, we were trying to get into Syria to basically get the leader of Syria thrown out. And this is Ross's take. I mean, you can look at it and figure pretty much all this yourself. But we were attempting to gain real estate over there to be able to empower America in the Middle East. We're going to have our way. Well, as we changed presidents, a lot of this stuff, and prior to that, of course, it started unfolding, and America was seen as not really what you would say on the right side, but America was trying to gain influence. So I get what's going on. That's not confusing to me. But what happened is Russia stepped in. Then you had Iran join Russia. Then they worked their way into Syria by eliminating ISIS and Daesh. Al-Qaeda has become still, at this point, an energy. It's an attacking force, but they're very small. Recently, down in Somalia, they lit off a pretty good-sized bomb down there. But that's how they work. They don't really war against someone that wants to war against them. They go after innocent people. Al-Qaeda is pretty much done. So is ISIS. So is Daesh. Syria is now basically really controlled by Russia with the aid of Iran. And this is important now. Remember, this is about Israel. Syria has become a stronghold now for factions of different groups of Muslims to move in and take over. Okay, that summarizes what's going on kind of right now. Much more detail. It can be looked up and you can go into as much detail as you want. But know right now that Syria and the wars over there are settling down. They're slowing down. Now, what we've had next is we're going to move into the Palestinians. The Palestinians want the land that Israel's in. Make no mistake about that. There's nobody can draw to really, that does any depth study can draw to any other conclusions. So the Palestinians now, they have amongst them, from the Arab world, some, to the Muslim world, a lot, and they have factions amongst themselves. They have Fatah, they have Hezbollah, Hamas, and these are groups of people that have actually been fighting against themselves. Now, the Palestinians were trying to work out a peace deal. Remember, we've had presidents that have been trying to arrange some sort of a peace deal between the Palestinians to have part of Israel, okay, and Israel to coexist with them. And it's not going to work. And the main reason, and again, this is all being simplified, the main reason is the leader of Israel, Netanyahu, understands that their main goal is not peace. Their main goal is to eliminate Israel altogether. Now we're slipping into Bible prophecy here. Okay? God foretold through prophets in the Bible that Israel, once they are formed again, brought back into their land, that they will never be taken out. Okay, so the wars that are described now, which is Psalms 83, Ezekiel 38, these are the two next probably most prominent, most on the front, ready to happen wars. Okay, I'm going to take Ezekiel 38 war and I'm going to push it away because they come upon Israel in that war. They come upon Israel when its walls are lowered, its gates are down, its checkpoints are gone. So there's something that has to happen to Israel for them to take their walls down, because right now that's what's protecting them. All right, so let's just keep moving now. So I said that these other factions of the Palestinians are actually at war with each other. Here it comes. Recently within the news, within the last couple of weeks, you will have found that Fatah and Hamas have decided to regroup. They were understanding underneath a same belief, and that was Israel's got to be eliminated. So these groups are now, as they used to war against each other, they were fighting each other because one wanted dominance over the other of that area, are now coming together. They're starting to get together. You work up into Lebanon, okay, and we have up there Hezbollah. Remember, Hezbollah was moved into Lebanon and basically took over. So they're now gathering together as a group to come up against Israel. Now, Syria, which I explained earlier, which is important, has now become basically a haven for the Muslim factions now to group together. It's actually becoming a point, and this is part where Damascus comes in, where this is a place of gathering together of a lot of the leaders. And Damascus is important in the Bible and prophecy. Damascus, I believe it's Isaiah 17, talks about the complete destruction of Damascus in one day. Where that's going to happen, I'm not really sure, but That's up and coming. All right. So what we have now is we have these groups surrounding Israel, which is down in the in the Gaza Strip, which is the Golan Heights, up in Lebanon, in Syria, are gathering together. Now, here's the red flag. Okay, Psalms 83 talks about the different troops, tribes, groups, and it uses ancient terms. So they were groups of people back then. If you follow those through, which if you go into to Jeremiah 49 and you read, it takes these different groups and it describes their destruction where God comes upon them. Psalms 83 announces that this destruction is headed their direction, and it will be a group around Israel. That is what's forming right now. When is this going to happen? I can't tell you. I'm keeping an eye on it. But some of the things that you can do is just type in Hezbollah, type in Hamas, Fatah, and try to take in the articles that have something to do with them forming together and coming together against Israel. That's Psalms 83 war. If I have ever really determined anything, and I'm not saying I know, I'm just saying this is what I see, and I said I would come back and explain this to you. What does that really mean? Let's draw to a conclusion. If this war takes place, which is more than likely in the very near future, that's going to be the time that we can start putting together a timeline of when Israel will sign a covenant. That covenant starts the last 7 years of the time on this earth that we have before Jesus sets his feet back on this earth. That covenant will be signed when Israel feels that things are going good. But I believe this Psalms 83 war has to happen first. That will place them in that position to be able to negotiate. What does the covenant mean? In my opinion, it has something to do with the European Union accepting them as a member. It's a possibility. United Nations recognizing them. Why? Because this war in Psalms 83 is going to be quick, decisive, property gaining, real estate enhancing. They are going to have a lot of control. Israel, Israel. And that's going to place them to where possibly it will be set up for the Ezekiel 38, because that's when they'll build the temple. That's where they're going to lower their walls. They're going to believe that they're living in peace and safety, and they're going to sign a covenant. Is this exciting times? I would believe yes. This is something to keep an eye on. Guys, thanks for stopping back in again. If you're new to this, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. You guys have a really nice day. God bless all of you. Thanks.